Bob Evans' creamy mac and cheese and buttery mashed potatoes are made for those holiday moments you just can't plan for. Like when the neighbors burnt their holiday meal and you invited them over. Or that time when everyone's flights home were canceled and they stayed an extra 2 days. So when there is no plan, say hello to Plan B.O.B. When you bring out the Bob, you can take comfort this holiday season knowing you'll always have something delicious on the table no matter what the holidays bring. When you need comfort, bring out the Bob. Available now in your refrigerated section.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.
Try Angel Soft for your tushy. It's made by angels. Soft and strong, budget friendly. The choice is simple.
Pick up a pack today.
Angel Soft. Soft and strong, simple.
This is Operation Nightcat. I'm Nate Hedgie. It was a cloudy spring day in 2023, and Fish and Game Warden Ron Arsenault had been summoned to an office building near the New Hampshire State Capitol in Concord. He walked into a conference room and sat down at this big round table.
Can you tell me about that big meeting?
Yeah, well, I can tell you. There was a lot of people there. A lot of different alphabets, you know. There's like 4 or 5 federal agencies involved.
Looking around, Ron saw special agents from the FBI, the IRS, the U.S. Postal Service, attorneys from New Hampshire's Department of Justice, and investigators from the state's Public Integrity Unit. Corruption busters.
And it was just a meeting of how we had started this case and what we were at and all the other stuff the other guys are finding at the search warrants. You know, it was just spiraling out and spiderweb in every different direction. It was crazy.
This alphabet soup of law enforcement agencies had assembled because of all the potential crimes that Ron had uncovered during Operation Nightcat. First off, there was the illegal poaching.
Gray fox, bobcat, gray fox, bobcat, red fox, red fox.
Evidence that a group of men were hunting at night, hunting out of season, baiting animals.
It's like they're playing Grand Theft Auto behind their house, except with animals.
Mostly violations and misdemeanors. But the dead bobcats, a protected species in New Hampshire, were being registered in other states where hunting them is allowed. And that would be a federal crime.
Hey, we got some bobcats getting cranked in New Hampshire at night, and they're tagging them illegally going across state lines.
But some of these hunters were also corrections officers at the state prison for men, where text messages had uncovered a whole host of other potential crimes. Witness tampering, falsifying physical evidence, and mail theft.
You have them outrightly admitting that they stole my fucking legal mail. That's a federal offense.
With all these potential charges, this was a huge opportunity for law enforcement. But there were also risks.
What the feds were afraid of was a thing called double jeopardy. So if we charge them for a violation for the bobcats, then they basically couldn't because they've already been charged for that.
The alphabets hashed out a plan to divide and conquer. Each agency got their own set of charges to follow up on, based on their jurisdiction. Ron and his colleagues at Fish and Game, they would handle the lower-level hunting crimes. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wanted a stab at the bigger bobcat charges. Meanwhile, the FBI, the U.S. Postal Inspectors, and the State Attorney General's office would look into what was going on inside the prison.
Were you feeling at that point that these guys were going to get their comeuppance for the stuff that they were doing inside the prison?
I was at the point where like, all right, the people, need to know, and, we can concentrate on our hunting violations, which is what we did.
When I was talking to Ron, he told me there are parallels to hunting a deer and tracking a criminal suspect.
Finding of evidence is like the hunt. You catch a poacher that you've been after for years, it's like a big buck for a hunter.
This investigation into Tom Kelly, Randy Inman, and the other poachers, it was like Ron had stumbled upon the biggest buck of his life. More than 5 sets of law enforcement agencies have seen evidence of these alleged crimes. But when they had them in their sights, most of these agencies never took the shot. Why not?
It's the embarrassment. It's the embarrassment to say, how in the world did this happen? How did we get here?
From NHPR's document team and Outside In, this is Operation Nightcat. Episode 3. A Duck's a Duck.
America, America, you used to be so fun, but now you go to bed at night, scrolling on your phone. Well, listen up, America, Carnival is here. There's comedy and snorkeling and dining, like everything from sea to shining sea.
Find your fun again today. Carnival is calling.
Save up to 40% off your cruise vacation. Offer plastic cruise fare only. Restrictions apply. Visit carnival.com for details. Ships registry, the Bahamas and Panama.
This is a real good story about Drew, a real United Airlines customer.
After almost 4 years of treatments, I was finally cancer-free. My mom's like, where do you want to go to celebrate? I'm like, let's go somewhere tropical. And then pilot hopped on the intercom and started talking about me, and I was like, what is going on here?
My wife beat cancer too, and I wanted to celebrate his special moment.
That's Bill, a real United pilot.
We brought him drinks and donuts. We all signed a card.
I was smiling ear to ear. Best flight ever for sure.
That's how good leads the way.
Bob Evans creamy mac and cheese and buttery mashed potatoes are made for the moments you can't plan. Like last-minute school costumes, glitter explosions, or when little Liam brings 3 friends for dinner. No plan? No problem. Say hello to Plan B.O.B. from Bob Evans. Because when you bring out the Bob, you can take comfort in knowing you'll always have something delicious on the table, no matter what the day brings. When you need comfort, bring out the Bob. Available now in your refrigerated section.
From NHPR's document team and Outside In, this is the final episode of Operation Nightcat. I'm Nate Hedgie. There is something I never mentioned up until now, which is that Ron Arsenault is kind of a reality TV star. For 9 seasons, he and his colleagues were the focus of Northwoods Law. It's a folksier version of Cops, which aired on Animal Planet.
From the White Mountains of the Northeast to the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, the conservation officers of New Hampshire stop at nothing to protect the wildlife.
Did you kill the deer? Tell me the truth right now.
In one moment, you might see a conservation officer dinging someone for catching too many bass. And in the next, another one is rescuing an injured loon.
I just really don't want to stress this thing out any more than it already is right now.
It's a pretty family-friendly show. But to me, the twists and turns of Operation Nightcat have always seemed grittier, like something you'd see on HBO. You can imagine the scenes of Tom Kelly, the guy at the center of the investigation, shooting coyotes from the sniper's nest on his back deck. Scenes of Ron walking through the woods to find Tom Kelly's bait pile. And you can imagine it all culminating in a dramatic arrest. Officers surrounding Tom Kelly's house, then bursting through the door.
Right! Don't move!
Your hands up against the wall. Your hands up against the wall.
But in the end, that is not how Operation Nightcat went down.
We didn't take him out of his house, kicking and screaming with handcuffs on. Not like the TV shows.
Ron says he just showed up at Tom Kelly's door with an arrest warrant and asked him to come down to the local police station. But make no mistake, even though they were leaving the big charges to the feds, Ron really threw the book at Tom Kelly. 9 counts of misdemeanor illegal night hunting, 16 counts of misdemeanor hunting without a license, and nearly 24 other violations. Illegal baiting, hunting out of season, illegally hunting black bears. 47 charges in all.
It was one of those things when we started, I'm not going to cut the guy a break. I'm just going to write him for everything.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. That's why there's so many.
But then Ron handed the investigation over to the county attorney's office to actually prosecute the case.
Once you basically ask for help, you lose your control of the case.
What do you mean when you lose your control of the case?
They kind of have control of what they can plea bargain out at the end of the day.
A plea bargain. Hunting at night and baiting out of season might be a big deal for Fish and Game. But for a county prosecutor, these charges are small potatoes.
They're dealing with murderers and rapists and stuff like that. So they're like, oh, he shot at night? Okay, well, not a big deal. So they're not invested like the game wardens are.
Back when Ron was showing me videos of Tom killing bobcats, watching a deer suffer, he told me,
when you take it all together, you're like, oh man, these guys are really bad. Yeah, these guys should never hunt again.
But when it came to all those charges against Tom Kelly, county prosecutors struck a plea deal. In exchange for pleading guilty, Tom Kelly's 47 charges were whittled down to just 7. He was fined a little under $5,000, and he lost his hunting privileges for just 3.5 years.
And at the end of the day, everybody's like, well, you won. We're like, yeah, we did win, so I guess we won, at the end of the day.
Randy Inman, the prison supervisor, he also got charged with nearly 50 violations. But after another plea deal, it amounted to less than $4,000 in fines, and he lost his license for 10 years. The other 3 guys swept up by Fish and Game in the poaching ring got even less.
Even if it wasn't like 100% what we wanted, they were found guilty.
After everything Ron had discovered, the biggest case of his career, this was a small victory. But remember, it was also just one small branch of Operation Nightcat. Ron had taken the first shot, but he knew there were more coming.
Are you still feeling hopeful that it'll go through?
I still feel hopeful for the feds, their investigations and stuff.
But the way these multi-agency investigations work, they're pretty siloed. Ron wasn't expecting to be kept in the loop. And when I was driving around with Ron this past spring, all he'd heard so far was silence.
You won't hear anything.
Yeah.
That's just how they work. Which, it's fine, but I just want to know, are you still going forward with it?
Still, Ron couldn't help himself. He felt compelled to check in.
I feel as though if I didn't do my job, I would certainly hope somebody would be my squeaky wheel to keep me going.
Yeah.
Because somebody needs to keep these people accountable.
Can you hear yourself in the headphones?
I can't hear myself.
Okay, I got you.
Sergeant Kevin Bronson came into our studios at NHPR on an early spring morning. And I brought him into the studio because there is a whole other thread to this investigation that we haven't talked about yet.
Hello. Oh, I can hear myself
there
now.
It is. It's always a weird feeling, too, when you can first hear yourself
Yeah.
through the headphones.
Like with Northwood's Law.
Yeah.
When I first heard my voice on TV.
Yeah.
It was cringeworthy.
Kevin was one of the Fish and Game officers who worked on Operation Nightcat. He was in charge of investigating another one of the guys in this poaching group, prison guard Randy Inman. Remember, Randy was the supervisor who allegedly helped Tom Kelly cover up an assault on an inmate. When Fish and Game officers searched Randy Inman's house back in January of 2023, looking for evidence in the poaching case, Kevin noticed something else.
I want to ask you a very strange question. What did the house smell like?
What does it smell like? Oh, it smelled like weed. Yeah, we walked in and we could smell marijuana.
Marijuana is illegal in New Hampshire, but it's also been decriminalized. So if you're caught with a small amount, you'll just get a $100 fine. But officers found a lot of marijuana in Randy's house. More than 50 bags of weed gummies, dozens of THC vape cartridges, seeds to grow marijuana, and a kit to make edibles. Most of these were found in a single room, where Randy's 19-year-old stepson from a previous marriage was staying. And in that room, they also discovered something else. Psychedelic mushrooms. There was a mushroom grow in the house.
Yes. Yep.
And you don't think that was Randy's? You think it was this kid who was living with him, or who?
It's hard to say. It was all in a kid's room. It wasn't in Randy's room. I asked Randy that night if, what's the deal? Did he know this was going on? He said, no, I had no idea. You know, kids will be kids type attitude. I don't go in his room.
The feds consider psilocybin, the hallucinogenic compound in psychedelic mushrooms, to be a Schedule I controlled substance, and growing it carries stiff penalties, up to 20 years in prison. Randy told investigators that he was aware of drugs being inside his house, and that some of the paraphernalia found in the living room was his.
It was surprising to me that somebody in law enforcement, where it's illegal here, I'm smelling marijuana in the house.
During the search warrant, Randy also tried to hide his cell phone under a rock. But a fish and game dog named Winnie literally sniffed it out. From there, Kevin extracted a digital copy of Randy's texts, photos, and videos. Now, I have seen redacted summaries of these texts in public records. They don't mention mushrooms in particular, but they do suggest Randy was helping his stepson sell drugs by mailing them to other states. Other texts suggest Randy was trading prescription pills. He and another corrections officer texted about leaving envelopes of pills and cash in the gas caps of their vehicles, in the prison parking lot. A supervisor at the prison potentially dealing drugs at work. But Kevin never charged Randy with any drug crimes. Just like the other threads of Operation Nightcat, this was out of their wheelhouse as fish and game officers. So, like everything else, it got handed off.
We handed off our stuff to the AG's office, I think. And the AG ended up taking that. I thought they were... I'd hope something's still going to come out of it.
I am going to save you the suspense about these other lines of investigation. The drugs, the alleged mail theft and assault, the bobcats crossing state lines. There have been 0 charges related to any of it. What seemed to us, and to fish and game wardens, like an explosive set of allegations and evidence appears to have fizzled away. So what happened? No one we talked to seemed to know, or at least wanted to tell us, what came after that alphabet soup meeting. So our team filed public records requests to find out. And we discovered that almost immediately, the investigation hit a snag. Before federal investigators could dig into the prison allegations, they needed their own separate search warrant to get the evidence Fish and Game had already collected. That might sound complicated, but this is actually a pretty straightforward procedural task. And they did this. But then the search warrant sat, unsigned, in the U.S. District Attorney's Office for months. Apparently, it sat for so long that the head of New Hampshire's Public Integrity Unit, the state's corruption busters, wrote a letter to the U.S. District Attorney basically saying, what's the deal? The clock was ticking, and the state had actually paused its own investigation to let the feds take first dibs. In this letter, the head of the Public Integrity Unit wrote, quote, "Any potential state-level crimes are becoming stale." Now, whatever the reason for the delay, documents show that several weeks after that strongly worded letter, the search warrant was signed and executed. But then, not long afterwards, the FBI and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service decided not to pursue any charges. We asked the U.S. Attorney's Office why they decided not to prosecute, and they gave us a pretty curt reply. Quote, "Justice Department policy is to not discuss internal deliberations. We also do not confirm or deny the existence of investigations." After the feds declined to pursue charges, they handed the investigation back over to the state's Public Integrity Unit. The job of this unit is to prosecute wrongdoing by government officials, like cops, state politicians, or prison guards. Then, just like the feds, they suspended any further criminal investigation.
Strange. It's almost as if there's this concession that, some level of violence like this is going to happen regardless of any articulated justification in a corrections situation.
This is Mike Lewis. He's a former prosecutor with New Hampshire's Justice Department. When our team first got a hold of Tom Kelly and Randy Inman's prison texts, it seemed like an open and shut case. The stolen mail, the beating, and the cover-up, it's all laid out right there. But we are not lawyers, and what seems like solid evidence to the public might not cut it in a courtroom. Putting on your prosecutor's hat for a second, you've seen these texts. Are the texts enough to charge someone?
The texts alone are not enough, but the texts are really concerning. I mean, they really are concerning.
What Mike Lewis sees here is an investigation that never really got off the ground. The text messages should have been the starting point for interviews or more records that could bolster a case.
You would want, to see documented photographic evidence. You would want to interview the victim and any other third-party witnesses.
But from the documents we received, there is no indication that took place.
They're all hard cases to investigate and prosecute. But, hard cases are just as worthy of thinking about as easier cases, even if your interests in freedom are substantially diminished to almost nothing when you're in prison. That doesn't mean that it's open season on hurting you.
The whole point of the Public Integrity Unit is to take investigations further and find facts if they believe there's obvious gaps.
This is Julian Jefferson. He's a law professor and former New Hampshire public defender. Like Mike, Julian agrees that the texts alone wouldn't be enough to win a case in court, but also that everything we saw should have merited a more rigorous investigation.
Particularly with the drug piece. I, over, years now, have been representing people where the police are actively patrolling the streets looking for evidence of drug users using and then charging them with possession of a controlled drug. Then to look at this evidence where you have these text messages of people in positions of authority who on its face certainly seems like, they are exchanging in potentially, illegal drugs, that there's not this aggressive response to it. And you can look at those things and say, this feels unfair. This feels unbalanced.
We reached out to New Hampshire's Department of Justice to ask what happened, and the spokesperson emailed us a statement. He said that while some of the findings were, quote, concerning, there wasn't enough proof to bring criminal charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Instead, he told us, quote, accountability has been administrative rather than criminal, end quote. And here is what that means. After all the agencies passed on pursuing charges, the Department of Corrections conducted their own investigations, basically HR reviews. During those investigations, Randy Inman retired. He's still pulling a pension from the state. Chris Massey, the guy Tom Kelly was texting with about the stolen mail, he was demoted. And Tom Kelly? Well, Tom Kelly was fired. In his dismissal letter, the prison warden said Tom's conduct would, quote, cause a reasonable person to doubt the individual's honesty, fairness, and respect for the rights of others and for the laws of the state or nation. There is still one thread in Operation Nightcat that may still be open. At one point during this past summer, Ron Arsenault was sure a federal indictment from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service was coming. I called him up to talk about it. Hey, Ron, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah.
How are you doing?
Good.
This is about the bobcats, the charges Fish and Game left to the feds to avoid double jeopardy. Ron had sources who told him charges were going to be coming any day now.
Yeah, I mean, glad that they're doing something with the whole case. And I mean, we did get him for some stuff, but we were pretty light, in the contingent that they were going to be doing something.
But then, the indictment never came. That was months ago, and Ron is still waiting.
Investigative reporting takes a lot of time. It's also expensive. And it's a team sport. I'm Jason Moon, one of the producers of this series. Operation Nightcat took a whole year to report, and a lot of behind-the-scenes work to deliver. As you heard in the last episode, we sued the state for access to public documents. We also drove roughly 1,700 miles around New Hampshire to interview sources and get documents. We paid fees to get court records, and we hired a fact-checker to confirm every single detail in this story. And we know these costs are worth it to bring you the truth. But what's also true is that we can't do this without your support, especially now. Federal cuts to NHPR, the station that produces this podcast, have reduced our funding by hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can make a gift right now on your phone with Apple Pay or on the app of your choice. All you have to do is hit the link in the show notes. And thank you.
At Maurice's, we're all about great jeans. You know, the ones that fit you just right. The ones that simply make you feel good. Because you don't just wear jeans, you live in them. Find great jeans starting at $29.90 in stores and at Maurice's.com.
Ah, DSW, birthplace of the humble brag. Here, the shoes are so good, no one would ever know how little you paid. If you didn't go telling everyone, that is. And with never-ending options for every style, mood, and occasion, all at really great prices, we'll definitely give you something to brag about. So go ahead, stock up on fresh sneakers from your favorite brands, or try those boots you always secretly knew you could pull off. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
This is Operation Nightcat. I'm Nate Hedgie. We tried to reach out to Tom Kelly and Randy Inman for this story. I called, I emailed, I texted, I wrote letters. Tom pointed me to his lawyer, who didn't agree to a recorded interview, but said the prison allegations were, quote, a lot of hot air and gas. He also said that Tom Kelly didn't break the law because, again, no criminal charges were filed. The lawyer also told us that Tom is appealing to try and get his job at the prison back, and that his hunting violations were, quote, minor. As for Randy Inman, I never heard anything from him. I did hear from someone else, though. His ex-wife, Shannon Labella.
It's just disgusting in every way, and I'm disgusted I was ever a part of his life.
Shannon reached out to me after we published a news story about these investigations, and she corroborated one of the allegations suggested by state documents, that Randy was using prescription painkillers. She said he had all sorts of substance abuse problems during their marriage, especially with prescription pills and alcohol. But she denied that her son had anything to do with the psychedelic mushrooms Fish and Game found at Randy's house. What was it like to be married to a guy who works inside that prison?
It was constant overtime and just stress, understaffed, and fights, and just it seemed like not much control in there, and everybody did whatever they wanted as long as they didn't call in sick or refuse overtime.
Shannon also filled in more details on Randy's hunting and trapping, that he was always out with his buddies. She says they could be reckless and violent.
I went a lot of times, not all the time, but pretty often, and one day they were just shooting under a bridge at pigeons, no rhyme, no reason. They weren't using it for bait or for any other purpose besides just to kill them. And after that, I never went with them again.
Why do you think he liked killing so much?
Control, power, dominance. Because that's what he could do at work. I mean, he had total control. And when he was home and, we'd have an argument and he wouldn't be in control of it, he made sure he regained it some way, somehow, by any means necessary.
Back in 2015, Randy was charged with assaulting Shannon. But she told me she was too afraid to take the stand and testify against him. The case was dismissed, and Randy continued working at the prison for another 8 years.
I don't know if he's just a wolf in sheep's clothing or if it had to do with his job. Like I said, there is no job out there stressful enough that drives you to kill innocent things that have never harmed you a day in your life. So to me, that's nothing but an excuse he's made for the horrible things he's done.
After talking to Shannon, I reached out to Randy one more time for his side of the story. He never responded. So let's just start it off. Actually, first, Dean, do you want to give me your first and last name and the kind of work you did and do now?
Yes, my name's Dean Williams. I'm the former executive director of the Colorado Department of Corrections, and before that, I was the commissioner of the Alaska Department of Corrections.
I wanted to get another perspective on what happened with this case from someone outside of New Hampshire. Dean has led 2 different state corrections departments, and when he read the investigation reports and the text message threads, it set off alarm bells, but it also didn't really surprise him.
Corrections is an interesting world because most other public entities, if there's a plane crash, for example, it's thoroughly investigated, right? Because you want to learn from the mistake. You want to learn why it happened to try to teach others and in case there's mechanical issues, so it doesn't happen again. That's not what happens, though, in penal systems. There's a lot of pressure on corrections leaders to sort of bury things.
Dean told me that you'll often hear 2 arguments on why criminal investigations in prisons get buried. The cost, if victims sue, and
it's the embarrassment. It's the embarrassment to say, how in the world did this happen? How did we get here?
And that's the kind of situation the state of New Hampshire knows all too well.
Most victims of the systemic, decades-long abuse inside the Youth Development Center are still waiting for settlement checks from the state.
5 years ago, a former resident of the state's juvenile jail came forward. He said he was physically and sexually abused there. And then a dam broke. More and more victims came forward, more than 1,000 of them, including Sean Cochran, the guy from the last episode. These allegations span more than 6 decades. A culture of abuse that was taking place, unchecked, behind another brick wall. The millions of dollars in settlements being paid by the state over this scandal, aka being paid by you, the taxpayer, are just one way to measure the cost. And over and over and over again, people have wondered, how could this have happened?
If you start down the road and say, well, look, this is embarrassing to us, this is going to make us look bad, this is going to cost us some money, and that becomes the driving factor. It perpetuates and reinforces this is the way we do business. And so then you have another event, then you have another event after that. And these things becomes a chronic issue. And that's where systems get messed up, they get screwed up. Man, it will cost you sooner or later, but it will cost you way more than if you just fixed it to begin with.
Gotta say, Ron, this lake is beautiful in the fall.
Isn't it?
It's gorgeous.
The last time I met up with Ron Arsenault was in October of 2025. I was there to show him the report from the state saying they wouldn't pursue criminal charges against Tom Kelly, Randy Inman, and the other corrections officers. Now, up to this point, as far as he knew, the case was still open. Nobody had ever told Ron the state closed the case.
Take your time. It's about 9 pages.
Really?
I mean, you can read through it, or we can go to the end, which is the thing I really want to show you.
We sat quietly as Ron read through the report on my phone. Now, normally, Ron has the energy of a Labrador retriever. But now, he looked tired and shut down.
How does that make you feel?
It just makes me feel like there's just no accountability. You know, that's what it really comes down to.
Remember, Ron went above and beyond his line of duty to report what he had found. He spent hours poring through text messages, calling attorneys, hoping there would be justice.
And after going through all of it, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know if I'd do it again because of all the stuff that just happens. It's like you just did all that work for what?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh. So it just grinds on you, you know? And eventually you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm a game warden. I'm finding out the hunting violations. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here for the drugs or the mail or, you know, the integrity units. Like, that's not my problem. I pointed that out, and if they want to go with it, go with it. You know, we have a thing, when a law enforcement officer finds, you know, violations, they have the duty to report, which is exactly what I did. And, you know, we're taught, report all this stuff, you know. It goes all the way down to, like, sexual harassment, you know, everything. Report it, and we'll do something. Report it. Bullshit. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you will, and then you won't.
Why do you think they don't pursue charges on stuff like this?
Because it makes them look bad. It's gonna make the state agency look bad, and they're trying to save face. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but it is what it is. You know, duck's a duck.
When I met up with Ron, he was supposed to be getting dressed up for a big ceremony. New Hampshire's congressional delegation had selected him for a unit citation award for his work on Operation Nightcat. But it was postponed because of a government shutdown. So all he had was a letter from U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen.
It's just a letter with an award, basically saying you did a good job. I did my job.
Does that do anything for you at all? You have a letter from a U.S. Senator?
No. It's cool, but at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it'll probably go somewhere in a file. My wife will put it somewhere. And
that could be framed?
Nah, I got my pictures of the eagles and stuff in my walls. I can't take them down.
So the letter will go into a file somewhere in Ron's house. Just like the investigations into Tom Kelly, Randy Inman, and the other corrections officers are most likely tucked away into hard drives or file cabinets in some government building. Just like that video of Tom killing a bobcat is probably sitting on a laptop somewhere at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service office in Boston. In that video, for a brief moment, after the rifle fires and a game camera flashes, everything is illuminated in light. The naked eye can see it all. The dead bobcat, the white snow. And then, just as quickly, everything goes dark again. Operation Nightcat is a special 3-part series from NHPR's document team and Outside In. If you like this series, you might want to check out my weekly show, Outside In. We did another 3-part series a few years ago about a scandal inside the world of competitive dog sled racing. It was called The Underdogs. There's a link in the show notes. This episode was reported and written by me, Nate Hedgie, with help from Lauren Chulgin and Jason Moon. Jason produced and mixed this episode. He also wrote the music. It was edited by Taylor Quimby and Katie Culinari, with help from Rebecca Lavoie, Jackie Harris, Dan Barrick, Justine Paradis, Felix Poon, and Marina Hankey. Fact-checking by Danya Suleiman. Photography by John Tully, which you can check out at our website, nhpr.org/nightcat. The Bobcat photo in our logo comes from Jill DeVito. Special thanks to Bill Chapman. Taylor Quimby is the executive producer of Outside In. Rebecca Lavoie is director of On Demand at NHPR. And Operation Nightcat is a production of New Hampshire Public Radio.
At Designer Shoe Warehouse, we believe that shoes are an important part of, well, everything.
From first steps to first dates, from all-nighters to all-time personal bests.
From building pillow forts to building a life.
For all the big and small moments that make up your whole world, DSW is there. And we've got just the shoes. Find a shoe for every you from brands you love at brag-worthy prices at your DSW store or DSW.com.